Hi kids, ready to listen today's story? In a small friendly town of Indranagar, there lived a boy named Nikhil. Nikhil had a kind heart and always tried to help others. He loved animals, especially his golden retriever Buddy. They were inseparable and spent most of their time exploring the woods and playing in the park. One chilly autumn afternoon, as Nikhil and Buddy were playing with the ball, they heard a faint sound. Meow, meow, coming from behind a bush. Curious Nikhil approached the bush and found a tiny shivering kitten. It looked lost and scared. Nikhil gently picked up the kitten. Don't worry, little one. I'll help you find your home. He took the kitten home and asked his parents if they could keep it until they found its owner. They agreed, and Nikhil made a cozy bed for the kitten in a box, fed it some warm milk, and fondly called it Kitty. The next day, Nikhil put up posters around the neighborhood, hoping to find Kitty's owner. He also visited his neighbors, asking if anyone had lost a kitten. No one had, but everyone appreciated Nikhil's efforts. As days passed, Nikhil grew more attached to Kitty. He loved playing with Kitty and watching it chase after Buddy's tail. However, he never stopped looking for Kitty's owner. He knew that someone, somewhere, must be missing their pet terribly. One evening, Nikhil was walking with Buddy and Whiskers in the park when they met an elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson. She looked at Kitty and gasped, "Oh, my dear Whiskers, I have been looking everywhere for you." Nikhil's heart sank. He had grown so fond of Kitty, but he knew what he had to do. "Is this your kitten, Mrs. Thompson?" Mrs. Thompson nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes, he went missing a week ago. I was so worried about him." Nikhil gently handed Kitty to Mrs. Thompson. "I found him in the park. I'm glad he's back with you now." Mrs. Thompson smiled warmly. "Thank you, Nikhil. You have a very kind heart. I was so lonely without Whiskers. You have brought so much joy back into my life." Although Nikhil missed Whiskers, he felt a warm glow in his heart, knowing he had done the right thing. He realized how important it was to understand and share the feeling of others. Seeing Mrs. Thompson's happiness made him feel proud and content. A few days later, Mrs. Thompson visited Nikhil's house with a small gift. "This is for you, Nikhil," she said, handing him a beautifully wrapped package. Inside was a set of watercolor paints and a sketchbook. "I know you love draw. I thought you might like these." Nikhil beamed. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. This is perfect." Nikhil spent the next few weeks creating beautiful paintings of Buddy, Whiskers, and all the adventures they had. He framed it beautifully beside his bed, and every time he looked at his paintings, he remembered the days he spent with Whiskers and cherished those memories. He felt very happy to know how a simple act of kindness could make a big difference in someone's life. Nikhil continued to spread kindness and empathy throughout Indranagar, always ready to lend a helping hand or a listening ear. One day, Mrs. Thompson struggled to carry her heavy groceries up to her apartment. On her way, she paused frequently, her frail frame visibly straining under the weight. Nikhil, who was playing soccer with his friends in the park area, noticed Mrs. Thompson's struggle. Without any hesitation, he ran over to her. "Do you need some help, Mrs. Thompson?" he asked with a bright smile. Relieved, she nodded. "Oh, Nikhil, that would be wonderful. These bags are much heavier than I thought." Nikhil took one bag in each hand and effortlessly carried them. As the lift was under maintenance, Nikhil carried them up the stairs till third floor, chatting with Mrs. Thompson all the way. He asked about her day and listened intently as she shared stories from her youth and how she spent time with her grandmother. When they reached her door, he helped her put the groceries away, making sure everything was in its place. Before leaving, Nikhil noticed Mrs. Thompson's cat, Whiskers, trying to reach its food on a high shelf. He gently lowered the bowl, petting Whiskers before turning back to Mrs. Thompson. He wrote his phone number in the notebook lying on the table and said to Mrs. Thompson, "If you ever need anything, just call me, okay?" And then he left to play. Mrs. Thompson's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Nikhil. You are such a kind boy. I feel lucky to have you here." A few weeks later, on a sunny afternoon, there was a knock on Nikhil's house door. When Nikhil's mother opened it, she found the entire neighborhood gathered in front of her. She was quite confused and called out for Nikhil. When Nikhil came to the door, he saw Mrs. Thompson standing at the forefront holding a large, colorful banner that read, "Thank you, Nikhil." Surprised, Nikhil looked around at the smiling faces. Mrs. Thompson stepped forward and said, "Nikhil, we all wanted to show you how much your kindness means to us. You have touched so many lives with your kindness and generosity." Nikhil blushed and smiled. "Thank you, everyone. I am just happy to help." Mrs. Thompson continued, "We have a special gift for you. You have inspired us all to be more compassionate, and we wanted to do something special and written." She handed Nikhil a small wrapped box. As he opened it, he found a collar with a tag that read, "Buddy's Best Friend." Alongside, it was a beautifully crafted book filled with drawings and messages from his neighbors, each page expressing gratitude and sharing stories of how Nikhil's kindness had impacted their lives. Tears welled up in Nikhil's eyes as he flipped through the pages. He saw illustrations of Buddy, Whiskers, and various acts of kindness he had done throughout the town. Each note and drawing warmed his heart. From that day on, Nikhil wore the collar tag as a reminder of the power of empathy and the difference one person can make. The book took a special place on his shelf, a testament to the bonds he had created and the love he had spread throughout the Indranagar. And so, Nikhil's story of kindness and empathy became a cherished tale in the town, inspiring generations to come to understand and share the feelings of others, knowing that even the smallest act of compassion could make a world of difference. I am sure that you would have definitely helped someone somewhere, right? Share your experience of helping others in the comments. I will meet you soon with another exciting tale. Until then, bye-bye.